We are recording. Hello, everybody. I'm Gabrielle with VIPanda, and today we have Carly Hudson, our next VIPanda. Hello, Carly.
Hello.
So I see you have your background all set up. Um, it was a little bit stressful for you, but
A little
it
bit.
looks beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. We're so excited about this season. It's one of my favorites.
So is that your family Christmas tree, or is that Christmas tree just special for your classroom background?
That's actually a funny story because it was in my living room set up for our family. And when I decided at the last moment that I was struck by the joy of the season, I drug it in here to my classroom. It was very reminiscent of the Grinch stuffing the Christmas tree
So
up,
you
pulling it.
conquered the Christmas tree,
Yes.
and now you have to get another one.
Well, we have another one in the attic,
Oh,
so my husband is going to have a honeydew later to pull
so
that down.
he has some work cut out for him. Okay, great. Well, I'm sure he's happy about that.
Hope so.
But that's good. You get to decorate a Christmas tree twice. So
Yes,
that's always fun for
absolutely.
the kids. So how long oh no, first, where are you teaching from?
I am in a little rural community called Stephenville, and it's in north central Texas.
Okay. And is it cold there right now? How's the weather?
It's getting there. It's a little breezy and just kind of a brisk chill in the air, but it's definitely coming on. Of course, they say in Texas, if you don't like the weather, you should just wait 5 minutes and it's going to change. So you never know. Tomorrow it may feel like summer. We're just always flexible and ready to deal with whatever it hands us.
And how long have you been with VIP Kid?
I have been with VIP Kid for a year and 4 months now.
Okay. Wow. So you are a veteran, for sure. And you started with the new company just recently. So tell us about that.
Yes, I am in the training process with TAL Education. They recently rebranded to be called VIPX. It's a similar platform to VIP Kid one-on-one teaching in a virtual classroom.
Okay. Do they have the same age children, or is it an older set, or
Yes, it's the same age children group as VIP Kid is, so just the
okay.
yep.
And let's see. How did you hear about TAL education?
I actually did an interview with a ESL recruitment agency,
Mhm.
and when you interview with them, they take note of your strengths and just kind of areas where you really excel at,
Mhm.
and then they promote you as an ESL teacher to different companies that are searching for educators to come into their platforms. So this particular age group and the way that their platform is arranged in their PowerPoints, they just felt like I would be a match for them. So then VIPX reached out to me and asked me to complete a live demo via Skype. It was really
Okay.
fun, a little unnerving, but it was fun.
Well, how exciting. So is this VIPX? I know TAL education is pretty established, I think. Is this VIPX a new thing for them?
They've had the platform around for a while. It was under a different name.
Okay.
So they are established, but they're definitely in a growing phase right now.
Okay. Okay. Well, and it's always exciting to be with a growing company.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so what do you like to do for fun?
Well, I love music. Music is my heartbeat. So I do a lot of things with music. I serve as a director for a children's choir here locally. So just teaching kids to have joy in music and to learn things about rhythm and rhyme and meter and all of that fun stuff. And just as a way for them to express themselves.
Will you be having a special holiday? show or performance?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. We have a local community event called Holly Jolly Festival on the square. So, for the last 3 years, we participated in that. We try to put together something special and share it with our community. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun, and the payoff is great. The kids are just beaming, and they love to show what they've got.
That's great. That sounds really nice. Well, and if you ever have a video, I'd love to send it over to me. I'd love to maybe put it on Instagram or snip it on Instagram and show everyone else what you do.
Great.
Um, is your background in music?
I'm not formally educated in music. I just have always grown up with a passion for it. I am a self-taught guitar player. I started playing when I was in junior high and singing, and I just have always looked for opportunities to be able to share that gift with other people and to learn and grow in it myself. Just something I've always been drawn to.
That's amazing that you taught yourself. I I mean, I would love to play the guitar. I think I've always wanted to be a rock star in my dreams.
I'm not
Um,
quite a rock star, but you know.
but it sounds like you're pretty good. You're pretty decent if you're training or helping the local choir. So that sounds like a lot of fun.
It is.
Are your children part of the choir?
Yes, my 5-year-old, my 8-year-old, and my 12-year-old are all in the children's choir. The younger ones are not quite old enough. They start at kindergarten age, so they'll be up and coming
Hmm.
soon.
Okay, so that makes it even more fun.
Yeah.
What is your educational background in? Did you start out teaching, or were you like me? You started out in business and then and then moved to
Yes.
teaching.
Yes, my full-time job, I am a medical biller, so I help people that are needing
Okay.
things billed to their insurance claims and things like that. And I've always been part of the business world. I've been doing what I do with medical equipment now for 17 years. I decided as an adult to go back and finish my bachelor's degree. I have a bachelor's in science and I have an emphasis in management. So I
Mhm.
was really looking to continue just climbing the corporate ladder and building my career. And it was something that I found a lot of my own identity in my success in business. But then we started fostering and having children, and my perspectives changed. And I realized how much I had a passion for teaching and sharing and just helping them develop and become well-rounded people. So my husband and I, after a lot of consideration, decided that we were going to dive into homeschooling, and that has been one of the greatest joys of my life. So
So a lot of VIP kid teachers homeschool their children. Um, what has that been like for you? Is it really crazy with 5 children? How do you manage that?
yeah, it can be a little bit crazy cakes around here on a pretty regular basis. So, my older girls are really good independent workers. So we have grown together in the
Hmm.
process and just learning what works best for them, what kind of students
Hmm.
they are, how their minds work, and
Hmm.
what they need from me, and just trying to keep everybody in the boat and all the water out of the boat while we, sail on, forge on down the river. So I really like metaphors. So visual.
Well, that's great. Well, and you get to spend more time with your children um, as icing on the cake, I guess.
Yes.
So you get to educate them and kind of control their education, and you get to spend time with them. So I think
Yeah.
those are, two great things with two great advantages with homeschooling. So your family, you have 5 children, and you're telling me a little bit about it. So tell the rest of the teachers about your interesting story.
Yes, we have 5 children. They're 12 and 8 and 5 and 4, and the youngest is 1. We started out really eager to have children right from the get-go, but for one reason or another, things just weren't really, working. So after a lot of consideration, we decided that we wanted to be able to give back through foster care. In the course of fostering children in and out of our home, we did that for about 4 years. We met our oldest daughter. She came to us when she was 6 years old. So she was adopted a year later. And then our second daughter, Cheyenne, came and she was adopted about 6 months after that. And then our oldest son, uh, Aiden, came along and we adopted him. And of course, after our three older children were adopted, then surprise, here comes baby. So we had added a fourth, Hayden Clay. And then about 2 years after he was born, surprise again. And we had another daughter. So uh, that's how it goes. It's been a blessed thing. I love family. I love children. I always wanted a big family, and I could not have asked for a better way for a family to be knit together.
Well, and you just seem so content and happy, so I can believe it. Um, and your job fits with that lifestyle because you work both jobs from home, correct? I mean, you do VIP Kid from home, obviously, and the medical billing you do from home as well, correct?
Yes, when I started out, I worked actually in an office,
Hmm.
but it was pretty clear quickly that I wanted to soak up every moment with my kids that I could. So I actually cut back to part-time doing that. And then in the course of that, I came across VIP Kid, and it's been a really good addition to our financial structure for our home and allowed me to do more with them and spend less time hacking away at the computer, working in the business world.
Well, yeah, and I don't have kids, but I love working from home. I have fur kids. I have dogs and cats, but still, kind of on those same lines, I'm able to do things like volunteering, like I rescue dogs and cats and foster them. So I
Awesome.
can do that more with my job working at home. Um,
That's great.
so what do you do on vacation with all five kids? How do you take vacations? How does that work out? Where do you go?
That can be a little bit tricky. I have a really supportive family. My parents are here
Hmm.
locally and they love to travel, so they come and bring us all along with them, and it helps to have an extra two adults with us. So we do the typical things that occupy the kids, like Disney World and going to the zoo. We have an animal wildlife center not far from our home, and that's one of their
Okay.
favorite things to go and do. It's a drive-through animal reserve, and
Hmm.
they love to go and see the animals and feed them. So those are the kinds of things that we typically do
Hmm.
when we venture outside of the home front.
And does your family live pretty much all around you in close proximity?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, we have a
good.
lot of family very close by.
Okay,
Absolutely
so good
crucial.
support system, yes.
Yes.
Um, I was going to ask you, I can't remember. Okay, so you've been with VIP Kid, I just remembered. You've been with VIP Kid for over a year.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to new teachers?
I think one of the biggest factors in marketing yourself to parents has got to be feedback. I mean, when I look in comparison, because I do a lot of research and kind of put myself up against other educators that I see, and what does this one offer, and
Hmm.
what can I gain from learning from them. I think that what really sets me apart is feedback. I always give really detailed, thorough feedback,
Okay,
not overly wordy, but just personalized, and a great blend of encouragement, and at the same time, not being afraid to be honest about a student's progress. I think a
okay.
lot of teachers hold back on that because they're worried about negative reviews, but
Hmm.
I've found that by and large, parents really appreciate honest and thorough feedback.
Now, when you say honest feedback, how would you phrase that honest feedback, such as some sort of criticism? How would you phrase it in your feedback?
Well, I usually find that if I have to say something that's not as positive, like if
Mhm,
I'm identifying a behavioral issue or some kind of a deficiency or a gap in the learning, the best way to do that is to think about, like any other advice that you would be giving to someone. You identify a problem in a clear and concise way, but then you don't just leave it there on the doorstep for them to grapple with. You give a suggestion for how we can overcome this. And then you encourage them that not only do you have suggestions, but you're going to partner with them in developing that
mhm.
child and helping them reach their educational goals.
Okay.
That's so you leave it on a note of hope.
Okay, yes, and you make it sound like it's more of a collaboration than I've done my 25 minutes. Here you go.
Yes, yes. I'm always really outspoken about being actually invested in
Hmm.
my students. And I mean that sincerely. A lot of my students are regulars. I see the same ones week in and week out. And so a lot of their parents, I've interacted with them as well. And we've built rapport with one another. And they know, when it's time for class, it's time for class. And if today we're a little,
Hmm.
the room, and so teacher Carly is not afraid to say, okay, it's time for class. You need to do a good job, just a great balance. There is a way to say any less than stellar thing in a positive way if you just take the time to consider your words and your. For me, I try to consider from the perspective of a parent hearing about my children. I have a daughter with dyslexia, and I had plenty of parent teacher conferences before we came to homeschooling where I just left feeling really flat about things that she needed help with and just feeling kind of like I was alone in that. So I really try to think about those parents' perspectives whenever I'm giving them feedback on their children's progress.
That's a really interesting point because eh, the Chinese kids that we teach, they're not often dyslexic, but I think because of the way they learned characters or reading, they often mix up, if you've noticed,
Yes,
like
yes,
for and of. That's
yes,
one of the big ones.
right.
So, that's kind of similar, and it's something that you have to keep on working with them on, is to not mix those for and of. What else? There's a few others. I can't think of them right. I think was and saw is
Mm.
another one. Um, how did you, and that's a good point, thinking about how you would want someone to approach your own children. So how did teachers that you interacted with, how did they handle your daughter's dyslexia? What did they say that made you feel so flat about it? Because there are other teachers that might be going through the same thing.
That just the most of the emphasis during the conversations was on the problems, like
Mhm.
and comparing her with other children as well, just saying, on this benchmark,
Mhm.
she has fallen off. She's not anywhere near the other students. And I mean, it's everything. It's body language, it's facial expression, it's the words that you choose to use, but mostly just that the whole thing just had a very negative connotation to it. And at the end of it, I left feeling as if they had presented me a platter of issues to deal with. And a busy mom, I'm going, I'm juggling 9 plates
Mhm.
right now, and you just added 20 more because there weren't really any solutions that followed through with those areas of concern. It's good to point out areas of concern, but let's partner together and think about some solutions that we can move towards. Give me a goal.
Yes. Yes. And give them some sort of method, not just here's the problem, but there's no method that I can give you. Um, did they know were they educated about dyslexia? Did they know about it or how to approach it?
I think that dyslexia still does not really receive the amount of attention that is warranted for it. A lot of kids have issues with
Mhm.
dyslexia and dysgraphia. It's way more common than we think. And because they wait so long to diagnose it, partially understandably because of developmental things that need to happen first. And then the other side is really because of resources in our public schools and not having the manpower to be able to have specialized classes or specialized tools or programs for dyslexia students. Um, you know,
Okay. And you know what? Could I ask you to educate us and educate me and the rest of us about what dyslexia actually is and how it manifests?
Sure. Well, for my daughter personally, there's a lot of different ways that dyslexia can present itself. But for my daughter, she can simply look at a word, like look at the word cat, and she doesn't see cat. She sees
Hmm.
the letters in a different order. So
Okay.
something happens between the line of sight, and she sees it, and then the
Hmm.
processing in the brain, and it gets mixed up.
Okay.
There's tons of different directions that can go. Processing disorders have a really wide umbrella. So when you go in for something to get like testing for that, normally the testing is like a broad spectrum where they're looking for any kind of processing disorder on that spectrum, and then over the course of that, they can narrow it down to, well, this is specifically dyslexia, or this, that, or the other. But we're
Okay.
still learning. I am still learning about dyslexia every day. So,
Okay. Well, and I thought that it would have been um, more, I guess, people wouldn't be as, or would be more sensitive to it, because my mom is dyslexic, and in her day when she was going to school, no one knew anything about it, and they treated children who had dyslexia very horribly because they didn't know about it, and
mhm.
they just thought, oh, they can't read, or they're not doing what they need to be doing.
They're disinterested. And it's
Yeah.
typical for it to be coupled with something else like an attention deficit
Hmm.
disorder, where it really just can present itself as a disengaged, uninterested, and rebellious, even sometimes, student who
Hmm.
just is kind of strong arming their education. And really, they're desperate to figure it out as well. So when that goes undiagnosed, that frustration can lead to a lot of negative things for
For
kids.
sure, because if you just think about anyone, if you don't know something, or you're not understanding something, you build up all sorts of defense mechanisms,
Yeah.
because you don't want people to see that. So I can imagine a young person who doesn't know how to deal with those feelings, grappling with that must be horrible.
Yeah.
So has that gotten better? Has it been alleviated since you've been homeschooling?
Well, as kids develop, or as my child has developed, things have gotten a lot easier as far as all of that goes. But we use different tools, color covers for the pages when she's
Hmm.
reading, or we do oral spelling tests, or do like the Audible type books at
Hmm.
times. It's just you just have to find what works for your specific student based on where their greatest, I don't want to say deficiencies, they're not really deficiencies, where their greatest needs are is what I.
Okay, yes, that's fair. Yeah, I mean it's not, I wouldn't say a deficiency either. We have stronger areas and we have some not so strong
Yes.
areas. So
Yeah.
we all have areas that we need to strengthen. Um,
Absolutely.
well, thank you for telling us about that. That's a very intimate part of your life. So I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. But, a lot of people deal with that. So I'm sure, it'll make other people not feel so alone, or maybe teachers who might be going through the same thing.
Absolutely. Anything we can do to bring awareness.
So is there anything else you'd like to mention to us, or any? any new things you've got going on?
Um, I would just say that when I thought about doing this interview and about my
Mhm,
experience as a whole with VIP Kid, I thought about um, just when I started this, I actually applied almost with a laugh on my face because I was like, there's no way. I'm not going to be good at this. This is totally anti who I am. Um, not just as far as like being with people that I don't know, I'm typically very quiet and usually the last one to speak in a group.
mhm,
So I just didn't really have a whole lot of confidence in myself. And I just being connected to the network of teachers through VIP Kid and other teaching services and just receiving encouragement from a mentor and then being a part of the online community, engaging with the YouTube videos and all that, and the the VIPanda, even just watching those videos and seeing different ideas, I have just really I'm so grateful for the experience because I found that I had a strength for something that I didn't know that I had. And teaching and that is that has given to me, but just teaching in general and being with these students day in and day out has just been so fulfilling for me. And honestly, I think it makes me a better homeschool teacher because I'm speaking with non-native English speakers, and you have to kind of take a minute and slow down a little bit and step back and be creative in your
mhm.
approaches and your tactics. And so then when I go to the classroom table with my children, my mind is in that mode, and I think they've appreciated the difference that it's made in me as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Teaching English immersion style is very hard because not only are we dealing with children who don't have a frame of reference to draw upon, we have to grade our language down so much, and that is really hard when, if you think about it, we have to pretty much take out anything that has more than three syllables
Yeah.
and then shorten our sentences down to 4 words. That is really hard. So if you can do that with Chinese kids, then you can teach your own kids in English. You can
Yeah.
do anything, or not just Chinese kids, but any kid who doesn't speak English as a first language. Um,
Yes.
and there's one other thing that I wanted to, that you touched upon, is that not all of us are these just vivacious, just larger than life social butterflies. And that's what people think that you need to be an online teacher. Um, so would you say that you're, I mean, not introverted, but you're more on the down low?
I'm a little more laid back. I'm
Yeah.
definitely, I love watching training videos from like Teacher
Hmm.
Nancy and all of them. I love their expression and just their bubbling over joy. In the classroom, I can be adaptive. You know, if I get one of the younger students, like a 4-year-old or something like that, that needs a little bit more energy from me, I'm
Hmm.
definitely going to meet the need there. But I'm not afraid to just be myself either. I found that it does
Yes.
translate well with them, and there is a student for every teacher and a teacher for every student. So
Yes.
people starting out, they feel like they have to kind of contort themselves into a
Hmm.
different shape to fit in a box that they're not made for. Um, and you don't. You just need to be patient. And the students that gravitate towards you and feel connection with you will come in time. They really will.
Yes, and I believe that too. Same thing. Will, I'm very active when I need to be. But some of those kids, they don't want, some of them don't want to sing at all. So, I always ask them, do you want to sing? Do you like singing? And if they say no, why am I going to make them sing? Uh, and then sometimes I'll sing for them, and then they're just looking at me like, oh my gosh, you're embarrassing me. Please don't do that again. So, I think some of them do appreciate those who can kind of just be very low key.
Definitely.
So, yeah, and I love watching those training videos too, but before I started, I was like, oh my gosh, I could never be like that, just like so camera ready, and how do they do it? Did you ever feel that way when you were watching the training videos?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it was, yeah, I didn't meet the qualifications based on that. And the kids can tell when you're not being yourself, because
Right.
if I stood up right now with some pom-poms and started doing shish boom ba for you or something like that, you would be like, is she having a seizure? This is awkward. So it's awkward for them. It's awkward for you. Sweating happens. And it's just, I usually start turning a color that's not so
Right.
flattering. So
Or if
I'm
you're
just going
kind
to
of
do me.
clumsy like me and then you knock over something and while you're trying to be all cool. So
Okay. Well, I have to tell you, I moved my classroom on the go suddenly today. I told you earlier, and I'm actually sitting on a plastic toy crate. I can feel it starting to give way. So I may be in the floor in just a minute, but I'm trying to prop myself.
Well, I've done that too. I've fallen off my chair during class. So, but it's always great to get a laugh from them.
Yeah. Yep. That's 5 apple worthy in my
And
opinion.
and you were working today, obviously, because you're wearing your orange shirt.
Yes, I don't typically wear orange in the classroom.
Oh,
Um, it
really?
I really don't. I use a lot of colors,
Uh-huh.
so but orange is. I look really good in red, and this orange is not doing it for me. But I bring it in every now and again. But on a regular basis, I really mix it up quite a bit.
Yeah.
So
Okay, well, that's good to know because a lot of people think they need to wear orange, but I wear orange just because, 2 years ago we had to wear orange, so I just
right.
never got out of that. It's just kind of, I'm like, oh no, I don't want to get bad feedback or in trouble because I didn't wear orange, so it's
I've
just kind
never had bad feedback for my outfit. I just try to choose something that's not distracting and
of
very modest and
right. Yes, yeah,
lots of
modest for
color.
sure, so that you don't have wardrobe fails for
Yes. Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That hasn't happened to me yet. Thank
That
goodness.
hasn't happened to me yet either. Although did have an orange shirt that I never wore again, but it was a little bit too boat necky.
Ah.
So because I don't like to wear collars that are right up on my neck,
Mhm.
so it was kind of going down a little bit more than so I had to constantly do it, pull it up.
Yes.
But yeah, so
I don't know what you
don't
mean.
wear don't wear big boat necks. Well, yours is fine, but mine was just a little bit too loose, and then I was moving around, and so
Yes.
advice for teachers. My point in that was, I guess, don't wear a big, huge boat neck t-shirt.
Maybe not. No. It
Well,
only has to look good from here up.
yeah.
Everything else below that goes. Pajama pants.
Well,
Yes.
yeah. Well, I'm still wearing pajama pants right now. I look nice
Yes,
if you're wearing pajama pants and Crocs right now.
that's
That's
great.
part of our job.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Carly, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I'm glad you got the internet and um, electronic stuff figured out, so we could have this
Yeah.
discussion before I leave. Um, but anything else you would like to mention to the VIP Kid or online ESL online community?
Just keep doing your thing. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share. I have wanted to move into mentoring and teaching others and just sharing the joy that I have for teaching with others and trying to
Mhm.
help encourage people that didn't think they were measuring up. Don't discount yourself. You can do it. It's in there. So just keep doing your thing and being you.
Okay, well, those are great words to end with, and I will let you go so that you don't sink down even further.
I know. Yes.
Well, thank you so much. And since I may not see you in the next few weeks, have a wonderful holiday season. And thank you again.
Same to you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.